are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live video from Boys Town. My name is Gabby, joined here today with our parenting expert, Bridget Barnes, and we are talking all about praise today. So praise is a big pillar at Boys Town, whether it's in our home campus with our residential youth or throughout our parenting.org resources that we share nationally. Praise is definitely one of the cornerstones. And we're going to be defining praise and talking about more specific on how parents can praise and, of course, how praise can impact children in the classroom because, it's October and sometimes kids get in a little bit of the October behavior slump, we call it. So we'll be chatting on ways to work through that. So if you're watching live and you have a question on praise, make sure you leave it in the comments of this video. And of course, like the video and please share it with another parent who you might think would find it helpful. Bridget, how's everything going with you?
Going great. Like he says, October so beautiful here in Nebraska with the changing colors and everything. So we're just really enjoying this moment that we have of beautiful weather.
That's so awesome. I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what led you to become a parenting expert here at Boys Town.
Well, I started out working in the family homes. That's when you're in the home with children and your spouse and your own children for that matter. And then I went on to work with national training. That's when we developed common sense parenting with a bunch of other professionals. And then we went around the world training people all over the place to do the skill. I am a co-author of the books that we use with common sense parenting. I've had the honor of training thousands of parents and child professionals over the course of several decades. But most of all, I'm a wife and a mom. And so I totally love the journey I've gone on using this parenting approach, this positive parenting approach, and just like to share that with other people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you.
So let's start with our questions here. What does positive praise really mean? And how is it different from simply telling your child, good job?
Well, that's good job. It's a good step in the right direction, but it's general praise that's often random and is a compliment versus positive praise, which really affects behavior. It's very immediate. It catches the child in the act of doing that behavior, and it has these very specific steps that are involved in it with an occasional reward. It is not meaning that you have to use some positive reward every time the child does that behavior. So there is a difference between general praise that randomly occurs and it's often just a compliment like, good job, you're being such a good girl, versus effective praise, which will go into a lot more detail about what behavior are you doing, why you should do it, and to keep the child motivated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So why is positive praise so important in helping kids succeed in school, both academically and behaviorally?
Oh, I just think it's real necessary, especially like now you're saying that we're in the October slump where kids are struggling and school's not as exciting anymore. That is definitely the time that you want to praise kids for any attempts that they might make with maybe trying out a new experience. Maybe they're going to join a club, or maybe, they're going to do something that they haven't done before and take up a challenge in school, or for some gradual improvement. Maybe kids really are struggling right now with a certain subject or a classmate, and praising any small improvement they make in that area, looking for the good. Or some achievement. It might not be the big achievement like graduating from high school or grade school, but it might be those small little advances that they make, that they do achieve something like, I don't know, in a sport, or they join the robotics club and they actually built something. So you can find the good when you look for it. Yeah. And so the attempts, the gradual improvements, and those small achievements that kids make in school or at home is where parents should be looking.
Mm-hmm. And so when we're at home, what are some ways that parents can weave that positive praise into daily routines?
Oh, well, Praise is so powerful, Gabby, right? It inspires kids to examine their own self-worth and to tell them that they're appreciated. So trying to find the time to praise kids for their good behavior in their daily routines can really work well if a parent does a couple things like choose the time of day. Yeah, choose the different routines that happen during the day, like morning, afternoon, and evening. I might make a point of trying to praise any attempts to a new routine that I put in place. Let's say that you say to your kid, we're going to have the telephones off at dinner time, at study time, and during chores. Okay. Now, it would be great if they really did keep it off for all those times, but I'm going to tell you the reality is that they probably won't. But
Yeah.
you can praise the attempt.
Sure.
They left it off for 20 minutes, or they got through, mealtime and their chore time with it off. And you can praise them and say, I really am proud of you. You did a good job of, keeping your phone off during mealtime and during your chore time. I look forward to you doing that. And I used to give my son these little bucks. I still have some around.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah, you kept your phone off during this, so you earn, a bonus buck. And so, you get a bonus buck for doing that. And I would say, okay, now during chore time, I want to see how well you do there to see if you can earn some more bucks. So just finding that opportunity to praise them for the attempt, I think it's really good. And you know, versus looking for what they're doing wrong, like, oh, you use your phone during dinner. Well, you're probably going to correct them for that. That's fine, and you should. But try to find when they're doing things well, as well as they possibly can at that point, because it's new, right? So I definitely think it's important to look at routines that kids are struggling with. So when my son was younger, and I don't know about you, when you were younger, your mom or dad gave you some chore to do that you didn't really like, and maybe you weren't that good at doing it.
Sure.
It'd have been nice for them to find that you made some improvement, right? To
Yeah.
praise you for something that you've done well, so in that area. And so my son was really bad at cleaning his room. His version and my version of that room being clean, totally different. But I used to try to find, improvement. So I'd say, oh, son, you did a good job when I asked you to come and clean your room, that you came and started on it right away. And you really made an effort to work, within the chore time frame. So I would give him time frames to get chores done, and then he'd have to check back. So I appreciate you checking back, right? Thank you. Good job. I tell you what, I'm going to put this timer on again. And I want you to pick up everything that's on that floor and put it in the hamper. Okay. And so then when he would do that and check back on time, then I would praise him again for that good behavior. So any improvements versus just focusing on what the child is doing wrong. Again, you're going to correct kids for behavior that they do incorrectly. But what I find a lot, Gabby, is parents come to our classes not praising enough.
Sure.
Are using praise incorrectly, if I could say that. So I think, we have lots of little tools that we use at Boys Town. Like, I don't know if we have this up here up on our site. We have this Teach Love, and you could download it. All right. No, but they have these little phraselets, right?
Yeah.
You've heard of these, right?
I've heard of them, but some people watching right now.
So I'll tell you a little bit about it. So a praiselet really helps parents use what we call the 4-to-1 ratio. So what is that? A 4-to-1 ratio is every time a child does something incorrect that I have to correct them for, I'm going to try to find 4 other times to praise them for good behavior. And these little praiselets, you see, one of them is blue and the others are yellow. Okay, so I put it on my wrist. And then when I have to correct the child, I use the blue one and I'll trade it to my other wrist. I corrected the child for, I don't know, something that they didn't complete when I asked them. And then I'll try to find 4 other times to praise them. And I'll take the yellow little bracelets and put them on this arm. Now, what that would tell me is like, oh, I am praising the kid, or oh, look, all my yellows are still over here. I probably want to increase my praise. So it might sound something like, Jason, I'm really pleased and that you did a good job of, doing what I asked you to do right away. When I called you, you came right to me. You did an awesome job of, beating that little clock that we have that says you have to get your task done, and you checked it back in with me. So, so when I asked you to get your PJs on, you put them on and you beat the clock. Way to go. All right. I asked you earlier, though, Jason, to brush your teeth, and you haven't done that yet. Okay. So I'm going to put the timer back on, and I want you to brush your teeth and then check back before the timer goes off. Let's see if you can beat that. And if he does, great. I'm going to say, great job. You brushed your teeth. Way to go. And I'll be changing those little bracelets every time I praise him. I praised him when he came, when I called him. I praised him for putting his PJs on, and I'll praise him when he brushes his teeth and checks back on time. That's going to get you that 4 to 1, and it creates an environment of positivity in your home. If you're always correcting kids, always on top of them, always finding what's wrong, it does create this atmosphere of nobody wants to be here, not even you, right? So, so it's very important that, you try to use a 4 to 1, or just finding the balance of, more praise versus, correcting kids every time they make a move.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that. And I think too, the nice things about the praiselets is while they start as kind of a physical reminder of the praise, over time, if you're wearing them regularly, you might be finding yourself praising and forgetting to move the bracelets over because you're getting so used on praising the little things. Because just as you said earlier in the live, Bridget, when parents think of praise, you might think of some of the examples you mentioned of, joining the robotics club or winning the state championship game, or like some of those bigger things, accomplishment wise. But the examples you just mentioned of brushing our teeth, getting our jammies on, for little kids, and then all the way up to teens, it doesn't have to be always these big monumental things in our child's life, but it's just those little things where, if it's one less thing for us to harp on that they are doing well, take note of that.
Yeah. Well, those little things add up to the big stuff, right? The little stuff that you praise. And I would say if a kid is not going to bed on time because they're having a bedtime problem, or, they're not following the bedtime routine, they're going to wake up cranky. They're going to have problems in school, so having routines, number one, is good for parents to have. And then praising kids through that using a 4 to 1 ratio. They're going to slip up. They're going to have difficulties with it. But I use that. I also use, I was going to show you this little cool thing that we have in the Boys Town Press. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a little coloring book. It is so cool. I like it. And this is great for the little kids to have. And so it's been around for a long time, though. So when my son was younger, you had following instructions up there. It tells you the steps he's supposed to do. And then at the bottom might put his name and then what he would get a reward for. But these are the amount of praises that I can give. All this praise that I can give. And every time you do a good behavior, I praise him. And then he could put a sticker on one of his areas, or I can color it in. Either way, it doesn't matter. But that is really helpful to little people, So if you don't want to use your praiselet, but you want your kids to know, hey, my son knew I was praising him. I knew I was praising him. So he didn't have to feel like you're always on my back. I'm like, no.
The book speaks for itself.
Let's go and look at the refrigerator. I think I did a pretty good job today. Not every day. You're not going to be good every day, but you can find the good, and it makes you feel better as a parent too.
What about teenagers who might not be into the stickers as much?
Yeah, that's why I had those bucks for my son. He was like, they weren't real dollars, but if I praised him for the little thing, he got a $1, and then he something bigger he did. He got the $5, and then he could use those bucks to buy things. But if he did something wrong, I'm like, okay, you owe me 5, you know, and he's like,
You're running your little banking operation.
a little bit more,
The
you
praise,
know,
that's our next downloadable, the praise bank, and then you swap in and out.
I tell you what, those bonus bucks really helped him understand. But I wrapped those bucks in praise, right? I didn't just like, I didn't pay off all the time. Sometimes he didn't get a bonus buck. Sometimes he just got the praise, and he never knew what was going to happen. It was like, a slot machine. I don't know. I'll just keep pulling to see if she's gonna.
Well, that's good to note, because then you don't, if you're rewarding it too much, you don't want kids to think I'm going to purposely be good or do thing because I know that I might get a reward out of it. So keep it a little bit randomized. And that kind of leads me into my next question, Bridget. Can you praise too much?
Some parents have asked me that in the past. Can I be praising my kid too much? And what I find, like I said earlier, is that parents often are not praising enough, or they're praising incorrectly. So if a parent wants to avoid empty praise, what I call empty praise, or that makes kids feel overconfident and entitled, I think that it's important to praise their inner quality. Okay. Yeah. Being kind, being honest, having perseverance, right? To help them become better people versus becoming boastful personalities, if you know what I mean, right? There's a great quote for that, but I can't remember. I think it was by Tony Schultz or I can't remember his last name. I'm sure I'm messing that up, but it's a great quote. You want to put it up on your wall or something like that. But also praising children for doing versus just being. So when kids do a good behavior, I praise that. That's not overpraise. They're doing it. It's like me working. I get a paycheck for doing the job, And when kids do the job, we should praise them until they don't need praise in that area anymore. And then I can move on to something else that they need my encouragement in, so that they build their. But self-confidence is self. You build the child builds that themselves. They develop their own sense of self-worth and effort. But we use praise that actually notices their behavior, their effort, right? And so if you focus on that, the child is making an effort. I'm going to praise them for that. Definitely, for that mastery, for that improvement, for that attempt. So, and like I said earlier, leave that reward off of the praise. You don't have to reward kids all the time. They'll feel entitled over time. Like, what do I get for it? If you're always giving something, especially something tangible. So praise in and of itself is a reward. It's a reward to praise kids. Some kids who don't get that, who don't ever get praise, are feel less than, right? There was no reward in it, and there was no praise in it. If I just bought something and threw it at a kid and never said anything about why I gave them that object, it's lost, so to speak. It's that empty praise that we're giving that hurts a kid, or the lack of it. So I would just say, stick to the healthy balance, Gabby. Stick to having a healthy amount of praise, right? That 4-to-1 ratio, and a healthy amount of correction that gently helps kids know that I have caring correction on board, that helps you kind of humble yourself and understand there are some things you're going to need to improve upon. But at the same time, I'm noticing the things you are making an effort to improve.
Yeah. What are some other ways that parents use praise incorrectly?
Well, I think that, sometimes we don't praise children directly. We don't praise them. We'll praise them to other people. Not that that's a bad thing, it's a good thing, but sometimes it's powerful to praise the child themselves. And so parents really struggle sometimes when I say, okay, in my classes, we do a thing called the role play, skill practice. And so they have to pretend I'm the child that they're going to praise, and they just struggle with talking directly to me about, parents are good at telling other people how great their kids are.
Yeah. Facebook, they like to do the post, but you got to take that and yeah, say it to your kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So other thing is, we use actual steps
Okay.
to the positive praise, or what we call effective praise. The first thing you're going to do is show approval. And that's your voice tone, your facial expressions, you're touching a kid like, high five or give them a hug or whatever. So that show approval lets kids know, oh, this is a good thing that's happening. Because my voice tone was like, good job. That was great. Wonderful. Nobody would believe that is praise. So the show approval, and then describe exactly what they're doing. What are you doing? You got up, and when I told you to go to bed and turned off the TV and you went to bed, so describing that behavior. And we use reasons with all of our skills, and they're child oriented reasons. We spread that on everything. So we really believe that giving a kid a reason why they should do this behavior increases the likelihood that they will do that behavior again. So it's more likely when you get up and go to bed, when I tell you, I'll let you have more time with your, screen time and doing the things that you like to do. And you have the option to give a reward. You can use one of your bonus bucks, or you can use a sticker or whatever, or not. All is good.
Wonderful. So if a child is going through a hard time, this talk revolves around school. Let's say at school they're having a bit more of a difficult time, whether it's poor grades or behavior related. How can parents work with teachers to kind of build up the praise to help with that child's?
Yeah, communication is key when it comes to the school. So talking to your teacher, you guys, nowadays we have so many great ways that we can be talking to teachers. All the technology is there for you to get immediate feedback from your teacher about how your kiddo is doing, and contacting them when things are not going wrong. Don't wait for the bad news, right? So really reach out to the teacher and immediately letting your kid know that you found out about this great thing that they're doing, or this improvement that they made, or an attempt that they made, or something they're struggling with, that if you talk to them about it and they're honest about it and say, yes, this did happen. Matter of fact, I had a mom tell me about a bullying situation her child was experiencing. It was really difficult for her. And for 2 months, her son really ignored that bully. He ignored the bully, and she found opportunities to praise him for his perseverance and that he ignored the bully. But one day, the bully came to the cafeteria and embarrassed him in front of the entire cafeteria. And he lashed out at the bully and got in trouble, but he called his mom right away and was honest about what he had done, and she praised him for that and encouraged him. So praising that honesty, those inner, capabilities of a kid, I think it's really important that even when they're struggling, that you catch them in the act of being good and let them see that they are doing okay, and that you're there for them through your encouragement. So I thought that was a time that, mom looked for the good and she found it, right? And she helped her son kind of during this really difficult thing when you're being bullied for a long period of time, the trauma of that. And then you get a consequence from your school when you finally lose it. But then all the teachers noticed that he was really calm and he was really accepting the consequence of the situation, that his consequence was a lot smaller. And his mom let him see that through his honesty, his perseverance, and everybody saw him struggling for that time. But he really did a good job, and so did she. And I told her so. She did a good job with that. It was a hard situation, and sometimes, life is not going to be, all roses and rainbows. And so during those difficult times, praise is needed and encouragement is needed.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you for sharing. So our last question here is, what's one piece of advice that you would give to parents who want to start using positive praise more intentionally today?
Well, there's some great tools out there. If you are like, Bridget, I'm not that good at praise. I'd like to praise, but I wasn't brought up on praise. I have parents telling me that all the time, and I understand. Well, you know what you can do? You can, number one, you can come to one of our classes. They're online. Come on down. Be with all the other parents. We serve about 400 parents a year here. So come on, we will get you into one of our classes. Or you can go to parenting.org and download really wonderful articles or watch videos or get this little thing. Look like it. This is called a praise box. You can download the praise box, and this is really cool. It's for younger children, but everybody can use it. And what I did really for older kids and younger kids is everybody can put a praise statement in the praise box. Kids can put it in there, parents can put it in there. And then at dinner time, I started with a prayer, but we ended with the praise box. And then we would take things out of the praise box and say, oh, Johnny, you did a good job of so-and-so. Mary said, and everybody gets to have something in there. It really creates a positive way to end your meal, especially if there was crying and green beans being thrown. I don't know, but you can end on the positive note with your praise box. And you can get this from parenting.org. You can download it and everything. And there's lots of other little tools up there, but being with other parents in our classes, are going to our Facebook chats like these, or our Facebook page. I think there's lots of opportunity out there. Take advantage of that and just say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to try to be more positive today. And what is a tool I can use to be more positive? Praising people. I just use it all the time with everybody. And then it begins to sound very genuine. It sounds like me, right? So versus, I sound like I'm robotically doing things. I just use it often. I use it sincerely with things I really see my kiddo doing. I change it up depending on the age of the child. And, if the child is young, then my voice tone and my cadence and the words I use are going to be a little different. And they're older, the rewards and the reasons I use are going to be different. So using the basic steps, but changing them up for the child's age. I would say that praise is a wonderful tool. Use it everywhere you can.
Yes, well said. And we have several other talks that we've done and resources on praise, just as Bridget mentioned, on parenting.org. And Bridget, if people watching want to sign up for a Common Sense Parenting class, how can they do that?
All right. Well, you would just go up to the boystown.org site. You're going to see parenting.org. You push on that, and underneath that, you'll see a list of things, but you'll see classes. Push on classes, and then you're going to be able to sign up for a class really quickly. And if you can't, there's a number there. You can call us. Please call us, and we'll assist you. But it's really easy. We try to make it pretty intuitive that parents can sign up for any class that is going on at the time.
Yep, I just put the link here on Facebook if you're watching live. And after this video concludes, I'll be linking several of the resources we showed, like the praise box and praiselets. So we'll put those in the video description. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for talking about this important topic of praise and how it affects kids, not only at home, but at school.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in as we gear up for the holiday season, next month, November, December. If there's anything specific that you would like Bridget and I to discuss related to the holidays, please let us know. We're always taking ideas submission for our live streams here, and we'd love to hear from you. So thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Take it easy. Bye-bye.